NESGameMaker. So last time we were together, we put together our GUI and some spawner stuff, doing a little bit of a last-minute fix-up before we start moving out of the side-scrolling view into the overworld view. So this time, we are going to finish up our level system, and then we are also going to finish up some room transition material as well. So let's get cracking on that. So last time we left off here at our experience handling bit. Let me make this a little bit easier to see. This should all be good. It's zoomed in, and the there it is. Step event. We're looking for experience. All right. Let's see. So we have if our current global system. So if our current XP, etc., we already went over this. We want to make the level up menu so that we can actually level up. So we're going to want to make a new object here, and I think I put that underneath the menu objects. So down here, find your game objects, menu objects, and create a new object. We're going to call this object underscore level up underscore menu. Double click that to bring it into focus. And let me pull up the code over here as well. We're going to need a create event, a step event, an alarm 0, and a draw event. So starting our set out, okay, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go into this here. A lot of stuff that goes into the create event here, actually. So we have, so we're going to use our little set system we have here. So pound region methods, pound into region, and we're going to use that to hold several different methods that we're going to use inside of this system, inside of this object for checking various things. And we'll get back to those in a little bit. First, we're going to do a little bit of setup here. So experience underscore 2 underscore life underscore is equal to 9,000. We'll need that because once you've maxed out all of your level ups, every time you get to 9,000 experience points, you just get an extra life. So this is just kind of a thing to let you know that, oh, we've hit 9,000 points. Let's just automatically give the player an extra life instead of bothering with actually leveling him up. So if our current experience to next is equal to experience to life. So basically, I was saying, once we've maxed out our experience system, so our experience to next will be 9,000, so experience to life, etc. Then subtract 9,000 and continue. So our this should actually really be greater than or equal to experience to life. Global.current save data continues plus plus. So I don't know. I just had to play a sound effect when you have this happen, and because I don't know, all the speedruns I watch, nobody ever actually gets enough experience points to get that 9,000 point extra life, and yeah. So I don't know how many, don't know what it does when you get an extra life, but I figured that would be about right. Play a sound effect, destroy the menu because we don't need the menu anymore, and exit. So the exit here is to prevent us from continuing to execute any other of the creation code. Because instance destroyed doesn't immediately destroy the instance, it actually finishes up your event. And I'm just reiterating that because that catches up on you sometimes. So when we do spawn the menu, under normal circumstances, we want to play a level up music sound effect. So we audio play. So I have this level up music variable. Did I even end up using it? I do use it somewhere, but not for this point. So we play the SFX open menu in game, and I don't really hear it because I need to reboot GameMaker because I made some changes to my audio system. So whenever I do that, it likes to forget how to do things. And let's close all these windows so that I can actually get to this easier. So we have our level up menu. So it plays a sound that I can't hear, but actually, let me try this. I'm looking at the equalizer here. Nope, it doesn't. I don't hear any. The audio equalizer doesn't pick up anything either. So yeah. Then we want to pause the game after we do this because we don't want the player to be able to move. We don't want any enemies to be trying to move and attack. So we create a pause object and underscore pause underscore instant dot no interact is equal to true. So basically, we're telling the pause object we don't want to be able to interact with it. So we don't want to accidentally be able to turn on or off the pausings by being able to press start. And we should probably update the pause object with some of this code as well. Then we trigger a couple of methods here. So actually, I didn't have to even do this as a method, but I did it as a method because it looks kind of cleaner. But it doesn't really need to be done. So we update the requirements, we sort the requirements, and we then wrap our menu to the lowest non-zero index so I can select from the start. And this is takes a Y1 input by doing this. Position us relative to the camera, so one frame after the menu is created, it will position relative to the camera. The reason why I did that is because that is how it was done in Zelda 2. It would pause the game, and then slightly later it would then show the menu. But we could cause the menu to appear immediately too, or you could have it say take 5 frames for the menu to show up or something, or you could do it have a slide effect where the after a second, or just not even have that at all, you can just have the menu slide into position. So it buy some stuff in the step event, but whatever. It all comes down to your personal preferences. So let's go over to our alarm real quick here. X is equal to camera underscore get view camera X plus 112. Y is equal to the camera position plus 40. I'm doing it relative to the camera rather than using a GUI event because, well, I could have done it as a GUI, but I figured I'd just do it as a actual in-room object. But it's just down to preference. And let's see, we have our step event and our draw event. Both of these things are getting complicated. So, actually, we're probably not going to get much further than actually this level up menu. This level up system is very complex as far as well, not like the complex does, but it certainly isn't a walk in the park. So let's work on these methods here that we've set up. So let's come over here and do some methods. Our menu index check, update experience requirements. We'll start with update experience requirements. I should probably say that's a function. Function update experience requirements, and that's good. So what we want to do here is determine the experience requirement for each upgrade. There's a formula of some sort, maybe that they used, but I wasn't able to really determine it. It just kind of looked to me like they just pulled numbers out of their butt for each one of their level up numbers. I don't know. So here's what here's the values that they had. So every 50 experience, you can upgrade your health. 150, you can upgrade your health. 400, etc. So on and so forth. Yeah, so possibly a formula for these numbers, but I don't know what it was. So I just manually entered them into this system here rather than using a formula. Then we need to update our experience requirements. So based on our current levels, so we have 3 of these: experience to attack, experience to magic, experience to health. So we have our current save data, and we know that our current attack level is 0. Because remember, we're 0 indexed on our attack levels. The reason why we did that is coming into play here. Because now we can just say experience to attack is 200. So we're at attack level 0, so that means the experience required to get to the next attack level is 200. And experience requirement 1 is our magic. Again, if we're at 0, it takes 100. We're 0 takes 50, etc. So that's very easy to understand, maybe, I guess, hopefully. That's right. So next up, we have sort requirements. So function sort underscore requirements. And what we want to do here is do a little bit of sorting. Here we go. So we create a we create an array here of the various requirements. And what we do is we take the sorted experience requirements array and we set the destination index to 0. So we copy from 0 to from here to 0 to 3. So yeah, so we copy 3 places, 0, 1, and 2, from experience requirements into this sorted experience requirements array. Then we sort that array by this information. We're going to use this sorted experiments requirements to be able to figure out what is the next experience level that the player can actually select. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but we got that for the moment right there. And last but not least, we have menu index check. So that's a function update experience, sort requirements, and yeah, the menu index check would be our last method. So function menu underscore index underscore check underscore y underscore input. And disallow the 0 index if we can afford everything, forcing an upgrade. Okay, so in the menu that pops up here, let's take a look at the menu here so we can see what's going on. So in this menu, you can choose to upgrade your attack, your magic, or your life. So based on what you can afford, so if you can only afford a life upgrade, you'll be able to choose life or cancel. If you can afford a magic upgrade and a life upgrade, then it will allow you to choose magic or life and cancel. But if you can afford attack, magic, and life, then you will not be allowed to select cancel. So because once you can afford all 3, then you are forced to make a choice at that point. So you can't just keep stockpiling experience forever. So in this part of how it works is because basically once you actually once you choose, so let's say you have 9,000 experience and this would cost 4,000 and this costs 3,000 or something. You choose and you can choose all these things. So you choose an attack upgrade. then I believe the menu stays up because now that you've chosen attack, you can still afford a magic or a life upgrade. So then you can then choose cancel again, etc. So there's a lot that goes into this upgrade menu and how it works. So that's why I've created these methods, because once we actually are upgrading things, so we then choose, okay, I want to upgrade my health, then the menu needs to update the requirements. So now it knows that, oh, to get to the next level of health, you need 150 XP. And, oh, he can't afford 150 XP, so he can't afford 100 either. So that means I should close. And, okay, well, but if he could afford the 100, then maybe we should stay open and focus on the 100 experience so he can choose to buy a magic experience upgrade and then cancel. At least I think that's how it works. I might end up contradicting myself later on. So we'll see where we go from this. All right, I'm back. I took a second out because I was having some issues with remembering how exactly all this worked. But I think I've finally figured it out. So let's see if I can explain this a little bit better than I was. So I actually ended up going down a rabbit hole of fixing a couple other bugs I found in my main project. But yeah. So we have this region here. It's exclude the zero index if we can afford everything. So basically what we're doing here is we identify what our previous index was. So if we were at index 1 or something like that, then we end up with our Y input. So if we had a -1, which is up, then we would be at 0, right? So then it says, oh, we're at 0 and our previous index was not 0. So let's see if we can actually do 0 or not. So then it goes through this little for loop here, and it says for I equals 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus. And let me change this slightly here. Well, not yet. I'll get to that in a second. But so it says, let's say, is the experience requirement at position 0, 9,000, or can we afford it? If we can afford it, then skip. So if we are going to skip it, then we break. And eventually we wind up at, okay, let's see, we can afford all options. So therefore, exclude our 0 index by forcing a down input instead of an up input. So yeah, so instead of being able to change our input from up to down, basically. So that changes it from going to 1 to 0 to going from 0 to 1, basically. Except this won't also, there's some other stuff that goes on in here as well that'll become more relevant over in the step index. The reason why we do this is so that the reason why we do it this way is so that there's also a previous check in the step event that's used to determine whether or not we should actually play a sound or not. And by doing it this way, we bypass the the normal up and down system. So when you try to move up to cancel, if you can't do that, then it won't play a sound. Okay, so all this goes together, and basically we're saying if you can afford everything, then if you can afford everything, or everything is a 9,000, then force you to go back down to 1. The one thing you need to remember about this is this system does not have any safety catches built into it for if you already own everything, because we're presuming that if you own everything, then you are just going to immediately be canceled. It's just going to immediately kill the menu, so there's no reason to bother with it. So our next session, so take a down input, force me to index 1, which will be handled in the next section, which is right here. So found region menu wrapping and region. And this is going to be a sort of manual wrapping system, basically exactly like our other system, like our other menu system that we've done previously. So let's see. We have if underscore y input is greater than 0. So if we have pressed up, or yeah. So if we press down, because down is a positive 1 input and up is a negative 1 input, then we check to see, okay, let's say we were at position 1 and now we've gone to 2, and we say, okay, can we afford what's in number 2? If we can't afford what's in number 2, then increase my index by y input. So that forces us to number 3. And then presumably we'll be able to afford number 3. And same thing for the y input. If we were at 2, and then if we're at 2, then check to see if we can move to 1 if we need to. And we do that by, again, double adding the y input. So on and so forth. The math all checks out. It works properly. Then finally, we basically copy and paste all this, and we say this again. Because we want to make sure that if we ended up being forced all the way back to 0 for whatever reason, then we end up with our faked input, so we get forced back into the 1 position. So it's just a catch for this at this point. So anyways, it all works. It's a bit confusing. I don't even know how I came up with it. The main thing to know is that this system is really bad, but it works, and I don't like this menu system enough to actually ever use it in my own games anyway, so I'm not bothering prettying it up. That's what it all comes down to, right? Yeah, so I don't like this way their system worked. I did do it differently, but that's how they did it. So let's go over into the step event here, and let's actually put some controls and stuff in here so that we can actually use this thing properly. So let's start off with our controls. As I mentioned, the Y input is your down minus your up. So if you press down, then, well, you'll get a 1. If you press up, you'll get a -1. And you obviously can't press up and down at the same time, so whatever. You'll never get a 0. And even if you got a 0, it just wouldn't move you anywhere. So if y input does not equal 0, again, we're checking for does not equal 0, then our previous index is equal to index. Then we try to change our index by sending the y input into the menu index check. And then once we go through everything, if our menu index has changed, so if our level up cursor has changed position, then play the audio, select options on continue screen, blah, blah, blah. So play a little sound to say that we've done something. All right. Let's see. We're going to need to prevent further controls once the selection has been made. If audio is playing, level up music, then exit. So that's why we set up this little level up music thing here, because we're going to have it so that when you actually choose a value, it plays a sound, and that sound is recorded as the level up music. And I don't know why I did it that way, because you could have just checked to see if audio is playing whatever the sound name is, and that would have had the same effect. But apparently I chose to record the index of the sound. So, and kill me once the level up music finishes. Oh, that would be why. Because we want to be able to check and make sure that our level up music is still playing. And if our audio has finished playing, then kill me. So instance destroy the pause instance. So we want to make sure we kill the pause instance, otherwise the game will remain paused, and destroy the menu at that point. So last but not least, let's go and create our selection switch, which is basically exactly the same as we used in our save, create, delete, and select stuff. So we have here a selection index. So if the player presses start, then clear that start input, because we don't want to press start to select a value for our upgrade, and then immediately also have it trigger the pause menu or something like that. That wouldn't be very cool, would it? So switch index, so case 0, and this basically saying, okay, let's choose cancel. So if we choose cancel, then we know that we want to change the experience to next. So the experience to next will be based on whatever the next largest value is. So if we're at 50, 100, and 200, and we had 50 experience points, we had cancel. So we need to go to the next largest value, which would be 100. If we had 100 experience and we hit cancel, then our next most large value would be 200, right? So we go into here and we say if experience to next is less than the sorted experience requirements, and this is why we sorted our experience requirement. And we always say at least 1, because it will always be at least equal to 0, right? So no point in choosing whatever is in the 0 slot. So if it's sort of experience at 1 does not equal 9,000, then set my experience to whatever it is at 9,000 at 1. Only allow a 9,000 value next. Only allow a 9,000 next to value if it comes from an actual level up, which would indicate it's the only possible option at that point. So if a 9,000 value comes from actually hitting the choosing a value choosing a value here rather than canceling, then yeah. So if the sorted experience requirement at 0 does not equal 9,000, then it's whatever's at 0. And manually kill me since there is no level up music played. So again, just do the exact same thing here. This is slightly confusing again here. There's all sorts of array stuff going on here all over the place. We sorted the arrays by, I believe this sorts smallest to largest, right? So sort type of function. So we had here the 9,000 value. So if at 1 does not equal 9,000, then set that to the value. Then if at 0 does not equal 9,000, set that to value. Okay. So trust me, it works, I guess. That's the way it goes in this case. So case 1 equal to, so if we have hit start and we're at 1, so if we're trying to level up our attack, then our current save data is minus the XP requirement for 0. Our current save data.target XP is also minus the XP requirement for 0. Remember, your XP is asynchronous to your target XP, right? So you want to change them both to make sure that you actually maintain the equilibrium between them. Then we level up our attack and update the experience requirements and sort the experience requirements, and then say experience to next is sorted experience requirement 2. So 2 is the end of the sort, so that would be the lowest value. That's right. So whatever the lowest value is, set our next experience requirement to that. and play some level up music. And it's the same for all of these, except we just change it to magic level plus plus and health level plus plus. So coming back to here, we say so if the second largest requirement does not equal 9,000, then do our plus plus at this point. So set us to the second largest. Otherwise, if the largest value does not equal 9,000, then set us to the largest value for the next requirement. So yes, there it goes. We finally got the actual information about how that worked properly there. So okay, good. So that's everything. So let's go over into the draw event. This should finish everything up. And I'm sorry, this is a bit of a longer episode, but I want to try to fit the entire thing in one go rather than breaking it up. So start off, we do draw self, and we need to go over here real quick and set you to sprite. Whoops. GUI and sprite level up menu. Make sure we're drawing that there. So we draw ourselves as the background. Then we need to draw our cursor. And we're basically going to steal the code from the save create stuff again here. So we're drawing we have a spacing of 40 pixels. YY equals spacing times index. So that's how much we're going to be moving. And if we're at index 0, we're going to draw here 40, 40, 40. And then if we go and look at this, so if index does not equal 0, YY minus 16, because there is a slight difference in height between the rest of these. These are all like a full 40, but this is only, what would that be? That'd be 24 at that point. So we make sure we actually account for the spacing difference. And draw underscore sprite arrow at 0, x plus 56, y plus yy plus 19. So that'll draw the arrow right here and right there, right there, right there. Then we draw the experience requirement for each rank, and we're going to draw that from the experience requirement array. Make sure we set up our font first. FA right, FA top, and C underscore white. So make sure that's at FA right and FA top. For var I equals 0, while I is less than 3i plus plus, draw text x plus 40, y plus 48, and spacing times I, again, spacing value from there. And that'll draw our experience requirement here, here, and here. Then draw icons, same thing again. Except what we're doing here is we are going to draw, for each level you have, we'll have an extra icon drawn. So for var I equals 0, while I is less than your current attack level plus 1, so we always draw at least one sword. Then if the level up music does not equal no one, so this is where we're coming back into that level of music, why we had it actually saved, and index is equal to 1, then, so basically we're saying, okay, well, if level up music is playing and index is equal to 1, then we must have chosen to upgrade our attack. So then we use the flashing timer mod 8 equal to 0. And you did remember to set up a flashing timer, right? So flash timer plus plus, and we got that there. Okay, good. So flash timer plus plus, don't forget that's in there. So we have this flashing timer that's going up by 1 even frame, and every time it is mod 8, then draw the sprites for the icons. Otherwise, just draw them normally. So this will cause it to flash every 8 frames, the icons. Otherwise, just when the menu is inactive, when we haven't selected anything, it'll just draw the icons normally. So we draw sprite, short icon X plus 40, plus I times 8, so that'll give me a spacing. So that'll give me 8 extra pixels between each icon. And at y equals 64, y equals 104, y equals 144, but otherwise they're all identical. And make sure you change the icon as well. Anyway, so that's all the stuff that goes into the level up menu. And thank you for joining me for this extra complicated session that I feel I completely failed everybody on. But, you know, I'll try my best here. So let's see if it works. We have link side scrolling, right? And we currently have this set up. So let's put a bit. So we have the North Palace. Let's go to the enemies and let's put in a bit. And let's see how well this works. So we're going in. And we currently have him set to give us 9,999 XP, right? There we go. So our experience has gone up. According to the information, so we gained 1,000 XP to start because we're doing a LERP by 10%, and we're going to 10,000, so 10% that would be 1,000, right? So once it's realized that we have enough experience for a level up, it will then ask us to perform one. As we can afford all 3 options, we are not allowed to choose cancel. So we have 200 and we have 1 sword. So let's choose attack as our level up. So now we draw 2 swords, and there was a brief flash because we moved on to the next frame. This doesn't actually all go in one frame. And of course we lost a little XP from our level up, plus it only gave us an 800 or 700 or something like that for our next LERP value, etc., which was our target XP. So let's do that again. It's now 1,000, 2,000, and we can't afford that anymore. So as you see, we skip over to the attack when we try to move on to that menu option, and so on and so forth. So it looks like it's working very well, and of course our experience amount is going up each time. So thank you everybody for joining me for this episode, this long-winded episode of the NES Game Maker, and until next, so I'm going to let Past Me take it away with some Patreon names. I'd like to thank my legacy Patreon sponsors who supported me last season during the hiatus: James Burton, JD Lowe, Suli, and Vazia. I'd of course also like to extend my thanks to my current Patreon sponsors: Kenneth Klein, Confusion, Jamal, Fernando, Sergez, and lastly, Amy. Thank you everybody for supporting the NES Game Maker. You really help it all happen. And remember, good luck with your program.